You are not imagining the pressure sitting in your chest right now. Something in you already suspects that this is not an ordinary moment, and that quiet suspicion is exactly why you are still listening. Chosen one, before anything else, I need you to hear this. Sometime in the last few days, probably late at night, you did the math on your own life. You counted the years. You measured where you are against where you believed you would be by now. And a cold whisper moved through you. It said, "You are late." It said, "You are so late that the window may have already closed." I am going to tell you what that whisper actually is, because it is not what you think. By the end of this message, you will understand why the people who feel the most late are almost always the ones standing closest to the door. That is not a comfort line. It is a pattern as old as scripture, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. 3 things are going to happen in the time we share. First, you will understand the real reason you feel behind, and it has nothing to do with wasted years. Second, you will feel a weight lift off your chest that has been pressing down for a very long time. And third, you will leave with something specific you can do today, because urgency without direction is just anxiety wearing a costume. Let me prove that I am not speaking in generalities. You know that strange pattern where you can plan, research, and prepare for hours without resistance, but the moment you sit down to begin the one thing that actually matters, something inside you stalls. The energy drains. The fog rolls in. You tell yourself you are lazy. You tell yourself you lack discipline. You have said those words to yourself so many times. They feel like facts. They are not facts. That stalling happens because a part of you is measuring your life with a borrowed clock, a clock that was handed to you by other people, and God never once looked at it. I will give that clock its full name in a few minutes, and when I do, years of self-blame are going to start losing their grip on you. For now, breathe this in. The feeling of being late is not evidence of failure. In the lives of almost every person God ever set apart, that exact feeling showed up right before the summons. It is not the sound of a door closing. It is the sound of a hand knocking. If something in you recognizes that alarm, the same alarm that pulled you here at this exact hour, type "the alarm" is ringing in the comments below. Not for me, for you. Naming the alarm is the first act of answering it. Now let me tell you why I still use the word emergency. Because I do not use words like that to frighten you, and I will never manipulate you with fear. The emergency is not that you missed your moment. Hear that again. The emergency is not that you missed your moment. The emergency is that your moment is arriving now, and most people sleep straight through their own hour. They wake up years later and call it bad luck. The urgency you feel is real. You have simply been reading it upside down, and to turn it right side up, I have to show you the clock you have been living under, where it came from, and why it was never built to measure a life like yours. So let us look at this clock together, because you have worn it so long you have forgotten it is even strapped to you. Here is how it operates in your daily life. Every time someone your age announces a success, something in your stomach drops. Birthdays sting in a way you do not admit out loud. You catch yourself calculating in the background. They are 5 years ahead of me. I should be further by now. Everyone else already has this figured out. That constant, quiet arithmetic is the ticking, and you have explained that pain to yourself the common way. You believe you feel behind because you simply are behind. Simple, painful, obvious. But that explanation collapses the moment you ask one honest question. Behind, according to what? There are 2 words in the original Greek of the scriptures for time, and they do not mean the same thing at all. The first is chronos. Chronos is clock time, calendar time, the tyranny of the schedule, the voice that says a life must hit certain milestones by certain ages or it has failed. The second word is kairos. Kairos is appointed time, the moment of rightness, the hour, when heaven says now. Chronos asks how old you are. Kairos asks whether you are ready. Here is the name I promised you. The borrowed clock. It is Chronos, borrowed from a culture that worships speed, strapped onto a soul that was built for Kairos. The borrowed clock is why you can be standing exactly where God is forming you and still feel like a failure. It measures the wrong thing. It always has. Nothing eternal has ever fit inside it, which means something staggering about your past. Those years you grieve as wasted. The detours. The silent seasons where nothing seemed to move. None of it was ever recorded as lateness in the timing of God. Think of Joseph. He sat in a prison cell the very day before he stood in the palace. By the borrowed clock, he was ruined at 30. By Kairos, he was one sunrise away from his appointment. Nobody is late one day before their palace. So, here is what you can do the moment this message ends. Catch the arithmetic. The next time your mind starts calculating how far behind you are, name it out loud. Say, that is the borrowed clock, and that is not the voice of God. That single act of naming moves you from being run by the mechanism to standing outside of it and watching it. Everything else I show you today builds on that one shift. If you are ready to stop letting a man-made calendar judge a God-appointed life, type I exit Chronos in the comments. Let it stand as a written record of the hour you took the clock off your wrist. Now, before we go deeper, I want to pause and place something in front of you. Over the past few years, in research laboratories far from any church, a small group of scientists led by a doctor in New York uncovered something about the design of the human mind. It explains a thing spiritually sensitive people have felt for decades but could never name. It traces all the way back to a Nobel Prize, and yet it is so simple in its application that it sounds almost suspicious at first. I will come back to it later in this message. I promise you that. Until then, hold this question in one hand while we walk. What if the fog, the stalling, the strange heaviness that arrives every time you try to move is not your age and is not weak discipline? What if something was quietly taken from you? Before I answer that question, you need to meet the second mechanism, because the borrowed clock has an accomplice, and this one lives much closer to home. Notice your own body for a moment as I describe it. Notice if your shoulders recognize this before your mind does. Tell me if this is familiar. You already know what you are supposed to do. You have known for months, maybe years. The idea is written in a notebook somewhere. The calling becomes perfectly clear on quiet nights, and yet the knowing never becomes movement. You sit down to pray, and your mind scatters in 11 directions. You open the plan, and a wave of tiredness arrives that was not there 30 seconds earlier. You read a page and realize nothing went in. The common explanation says, your faith is weak, your willpower is broken, or you simply do not want it badly enough. I need you to drop that explanation today, because it has spent years indicting an innocent person. Jesus told a story about 10 young women waiting through the night for a bridegroom. All 10 believed. All 10 showed up at the right place. All 10 even fell asleep, the wise and the foolish alike. The only difference between the ones who entered the feast and the ones locked outside was oil in the lamp. Readiness was never about desire, it was about the condition of the vessel. Your mind is that vessel. The old Greek word the scriptures use for watchfulness is Gregorio. It does not mean staring anxiously at the sky. It means being fully awake, gathered, present, with the lamp trimmed and the vessel full. And here is the truth almost nobody will say plainly. Modern life has been quietly draining the oil. The noise, the screens, the ceaseless demands have left millions of sincere believers trying to answer a holy summons with a scattered, foggy, half-awake mind. So hear the reframe. Those seasons when you carried the calling but could not move, that was not rebellion, and it was not laziness. That was a wholehearted person working through a drained vessel. You were never refusing the door. You were searching for the handle in the fog. There is a difference the size of an ocean between those two things. and God has always known which one was true of you. And you can begin refilling tonight. Before you sleep, put the phone in another room. Sit for 10 unhurried minutes in silence and ask one question. Father, what is the one thing you are asking of me in this season? Do not force an answer. Just sit with the lamp lit. 10 minutes of gathered attention is a few drops of oil, and drops become reserves faster than you think. If this message has already handed you even one moment of relief, gently tap the like, not for me, but so it can reach another chosen one who is lying awake tonight doing the terrible math. Then, if you are willing, type, "I release the blame" in the comments. The years you spent calling yourself lazy deserve a formal ending, written in your own hand. And stay with me, because we have only walked half of this road. Everything so far explains why you stall. It does not yet explain how the vessel actually gets refilled in a world engineered to drain it, and that answer, the one I asked you to hold in your hand, is where this message has been heading from its very first sentence. What comes next is the part most people never stay long enough to hear. But here is a question that should trouble you, and I want it to. Why does knowing all of this still not produce movement? You have had true insight before. You have heard messages that made your heart burn, and a week later everything was exactly the same. Why does the insight stay insight and never become action? The answer is not in your mind. It is in something underneath your mind, somewhere you have not thought to look. Stay right here, because this next stretch changes how you use everything you just learned. Let me now speak plainly for a moment, without imagery, because you deserve to see the whole shape of this before we go further. Here is the why. You feel late because a false clock taught you to misread a divine alarm, and the alarm is actually announcing arrival, not disqualification. Here is the what. The one remaining obstacle is not your desire and not your worthiness. It is the physical condition of your attention, the drained vessel, the mind that cannot hold focus long enough to walk through the door it can finally see. And here is the who. This matters most for the person who has been sincere for years, who prayed, journaled, forgave, showed up, who did the inner work and still feels the fog. If that is you, then what follows was, in a way I do not say lightly, arranged for you. That is who you have been. It is not who you are required to remain. So the only question left standing is the one that matters. Now that you know what has been draining you, what do you do about it? Earlier, I told you that scientists in a laboratory found something spiritually sensitive people could never name, and I asked you to hold a question. What if something was quietly taken from you? I waited until now to answer it, because an answer only becomes useful once you understand the full shape of the problem it solves. You now understand the shape. Here is the answer, and it won a Nobel Prize. In 1981, a researcher named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for proving something remarkable about the human brain. It is built as two hemispheres that are designed to work in synchronization, and when they do, the mind enters the state where insight, clarity, and creative power flow. Researchers later found that roughly 98% of young children operate at what they classified as a creative genius level. Fewer than one adult in 1,000 keeps it. Modern life does not just drain the oil, chosen one. It slowly pulls the two halves of the lamp apart. That is not spiritual failure. That is physiology, and it explains your fog with almost embarrassing precision. A woman from California described what her life felt like before she understood this. She had tried everything her community offered: prayer, journaling, meditation, every practice, and she kept arriving at the same wall. She believed the words, but she could not feel the reality behind them, not in her body, not in the lived texture of her days. About 10 days after she began addressing the synchronization itself, she said, something cleared. A channel that had been blocked was suddenly open, not because she tried harder, because the vessel had been repaired. A man from Texas described something similar. He had spent years holding everything together for everyone around him, while his own interior life grew thin and distant. He said prayer had started to feel like talking into a wall. The signal was right, but the receiver was off. 2 weeks after he addressed the same thing, he woke up and described his mind as finally running on everything it was built to run on. The fog that had been so constant, he stopped noticing it as fog was simply gone. Both of those turnarounds trace back to the same work. A team of neuroscientists, led by Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York, spent years on a single task. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized medical settings, and through an intensive process of compression and refinement, they distilled it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day, headphones on, eyes closed. That is the entire physical requirement. They call it the Genius Switch. It is not a meditation app, and it is not one of those soundtracks designed to set a mood. If you have tried listening approaches before and felt nothing, Dr. Barone addresses that directly. Those tools touch only a fraction of the picture. What his team built is a targeted sequence engineered from the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore the whole brain activation that was your default state as a child. The Genius Switch does not add something foreign to you. It switches back on what was always yours. And I want to be honest about who this is for. It is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one, who understands that God prepared not only the promise, but also the mind that must walk into it. The person who has been sincere for years, who has done the work, who kept returning to the call even when the evidence was not cooperating, and who is finally willing to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something with a specific address. Here is what surprised me most. Colleagues around Dr. Barone reportedly said this would be worth every penny at $500. And when you consider that in person, neurofeedback runs about $300 an hour and home machines cost thousands, that is not an exaggeration, but it was never released at $500. It was released at $49. And today, through the page his team set up, there is a further reduction that brings it to $39. They also include 4 free gifts alongside it. A guided visualization from a top-rated creator on a leading calm and meditation app, a smart grocery guide naming the common foods that feed brain fog and the swaps that save real money every month, a classic manifestation text more than a century old, and a beautifully designed page of the 5 habits that build an ideal future, ready to print and place on your wall. And all of it rests on a 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. Listen once, or listen 80 times. If it does not do for you what it has done for more than 18,000 people, every dollar comes back to you. No conditions, no questions. The risk sits entirely on their side of the table, which tells you what they believe about what they built. Before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life. A declaration I ask you to receive with your whole chest. Stay with me for it. Now let me say something with equal weight, because truth requires it. The tool does not replace God. It does not surrender for you. It does not obey for you, and it does not love for you. What the Father is doing in you was never conditional on anything you can order from a page, but a tool that restores the vessel, gives what he is doing more of what it was designed to land in. That is all it is, and that is enough. One caution worth naming directly: if you go searching the internet for tracks that promise this, you will find plenty of imitations. Most of them carry impressive names and none of the actual mechanism, because the mechanism only exists in what this team spent years building. The page linked below is the only verified source. Please do not settle for an echo of the real thing. So if your spirit resonates with what has been described, the link is in the description below and in the pinned comment. You can read every detail on their page before deciding anything. Nothing is hidden and nothing is rushed. But I will say this: because today carries the word emergency for a reason. If you are honest with yourself in this moment, there is something you already know you are supposed to do next. Not generally. Specifically, if the genius switch is what you are meant to act on today, go to that link before you close this message, and let this hour of clarity carry you into the action it is pointing toward. More than 18,000 people made that choice, not eventually. Now, and now, chosen one, set everything else down, because this final piece belongs only to you. Wherever you are, let your breathing slow. Picture yourself standing in a long hallway before a single door, the door you have circled for years. See its grain, its handle, the light underneath it. Now notice the watch on your wrist, the borrowed clock, still counting the years it claims you lost. Take it off, feel the strap release, let it fall, and hear it land behind you. Understand what you are looking at as it lies there. That clock was never measuring your lateness. It was measuring your formation, and formation is never wasted time. Now, place your palm flat against the door and feel your own heartbeat meet the wood. Warmth in the hand, breath in the chest. That steadiness you feel right now is what readiness actually feels like. Remember it. Your body will find it again whenever the old arithmetic returns. Father, thank you. Thank you for every year that looked like silence and was actually preparation. Thank you for guarding doors that would have opened too early, and for the alarm of this very hour. Now, breathe in slowly, and as you release that breath, let the last of it go. The shame of the timeline, the sting of the birthdays, the names you called yourself in the dark. Breathe them out. You do not need them where you are going. Hear this spoken over your life. You are not late. You are appointed. I am awake. I am prepared. I am standing at my door at the exact hour heaven chose for me. I am not behind. I am becoming. Say it until your chest believes it, because it was true before you ever heard it. If that declaration is yours, type "I am not late" in the comments and seal this hour in writing. And one more thing. Someone crossed your mind while you listened. Someone who works so hard and still calls themselves a failure. Someone doing the terrible math at midnight. Someone whose lamp is flickering. Send them this message today, without explanation if you like. You may be the knock on their door. And if you want more words like these in your coming days, join the thousands of chosen ones who walk with this voice. The alarm was never a threat, chosen one. It was an invitation with your name on it. It is done. Amen.